Welcome back, Smarties. We're continuing to work on Paramount Unified School District's instructional packet. Make sure you go to this website, to Parents, download K2 instructional packet, and we're working on this page. This is the spread, but this is the page that we're focused on. So we're focusing on, drumroll please, shapes. You guessed it. Let's get this party started, get this learning party started, get this learning party started right now. Smarty party at my house with Mama Dr. Robinson. I will bet when we are through, I will be able to analyze, compare, construct, and draw flat, two-dimensional shapes. Here's our part together. We will identify, draw, and label basic geometric shapes using objects, picture cutouts, and drawings on a whiteboard, paper, or white mat. We will also use smart charts to name, track, and tell given shapes by name and attribute. Here's your part, Smarty. So I can analyze, compare, and build shapes from components independently and or with a smart chart for support. I will also be able to use my 21st century skills. First one is to critically think. Second one is to communicate that thinking. And today we're adding create. And we're looking at the California Math Standards focusing on shape. So I brought some shapes here. These are called flat shapes because they don't have dimension to them. They're called two-dimensional shapes, but they don't have multiple dimension, as if I were to pick up my box, how it has multiple sides. So if I were to show you this shape, there's a word that we use to describe it. It's called a star. These are mutually universally agreed upon names for the shapes. So we all use the same names, and then we all understand what each other is speaking about when we're referencing shapes. This one is called an oval. It's kind of like the egg shape. This one is called a heart. When we see this one, we call it a circle. And this one is called a diamond. When we see this shape, we call it a triangle. And when we see this shape, we call it a rectangle. Now this shape is a little trickster, because when we're little, people say, oh, this is a square. And then when we get big and we're doing algebra and geometry, somebody comes up and says, oh, that's a rectangle. Wait, what? That's a rectangle. They say yes, and so is that. And it is. So it's important that you know that this is a rectangle. It's a special kind of rectangle because all of its sides are the same length. But it's rectangular. It has 4 corners, 4 sides, 4 vertices, just like this. The only thing different is this has 2 sides that are long, and they can be this direction or this direction, and it has 2 sides that are shorter. Now, the 2 shorter sides have to be the same length as each other, and the 2 longer sides have to be the same length as each other. But all 4 sides do not have to be the same for it to be a rectangle. A square, all the sides have to be the same, and so we say it's a special rectangle, and it's rectangular. But shapes don't just come in flat, they also come in 3-dimensional. But for the purpose of today, we're going to just be looking at the flat shapes. Flat shape, or 2-dimensional. Now, you can either make a chart or you can go online and find a smart chart. And this is also called a tracking mat when you use it to follow along and tell your brain to tell your eyes to look and your mouth to say a particular word when it sees this shape. So we're going to use this as a tracking mat, and I'm going to show you how you can use it both as a reference smart chart as well as a tracking mat. So you're going to take the hand that holds the pencil. You're going to tuck all the fingers except the pointer and the thumb. You're going to tuck them in. This is called tuck and point. And then we're going to touch and tell, because we're making our brain tell our eyes to look right where our finger is pointing, not anywhere else. And then our brain is telling itself to think about what it sees and then what to say when it sees that. So we're trying to make our eyes and our brain and our mouth and our finger all work harmoniously together as a team. So when I put my finger under this shape, I'm going to call it its name of circle. Then I move to the next shape, and I'm going to call this its name of oval. I move to the next shape, and I'm going to call this its name of triangle. I move to the last shape in the line, and I'm going to call it the name of square. Remember, it's a special rectangle. I sweep back. Now, that doesn't mean I use a broom. It means my finger just comes back so that my eye can track from left to right. Top to bottom, left to right. When I point to this finger, my brain is going to think rectangle. Then I move to the next shape, and my brain says heart. I move to the next shape, and that is a star. I move to the next shape, and that is a diamond. Now I'm going to sweep back again, and I'm going to continue to touch and tell as I tuck and point. This shape is an octagon. This is a pentagon. This is a hexagon, and this is a crescent. Now the octagon has 8 sides, like an octopus has 8 legs. The pentagon looks kind of like a house. And the hexagon is a little confusing because it's easy to think it's an octagon unless you count its sides. So we're going to count the sides so we know how many are in a hexagon. Starting at the top, because it's flat there, so our brain can remember to start at the top and come all the way back around to where we started. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2 less than the 8. 6 shapes. 6 sides on this shape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do it a second time, and we're going to point to the picture and then to the word. We're going to say it and then look at the word. Our idea is to make our brain take a picture and make a tape. So we're going to say it looking at the shape and then looking at the letters that make up the word that define that shape. Circle, oval, triangle, square, sweep back, rectangle, heart, star, diamond, sweep back, octagon, pentagon, hexagon, crescent. Now, somebody big at your house can make a shape chart for you, or you can just find one online for free. These words, when I printed it, came out kind of grainy and they're hard to see. So what I'd like to do is I'd like us to make an anchor chart. Now, I'm not going to put it on the whiteboard because when I'm finished, I'm going to need the whiteboard for something else, which means I'd have to erase all of the information that I put up there. And I don't want to do that because I want to be able to come back and reference it later. So I need it to stay in a place that I can use it later. So I've improvised my little easel here. It's a picture that was created of a Foxy, by one of my students in my art collaborative a couple years ago. So I'm going to use this as my hard surface so I can make an anchor chart. It's a smart chart too, but it's going to be big, and I'm going to put it up on the wall so I can use it later if I need it. Now, someone can help you with this, but I'd like you to try and do this all by yourself on a piece of paper a whiteboard, or a white mat. So I'm going to start, doesn't matter what color, and you can make them all the same color. I'm going to make mine different colors so it's easier for me to see, and then I can reference it by color. So if I wanted you to find one of the shapes, I might tell you some little clues about it, and one of the clues might be what color I wrote it in, drew it in, and then I wrote the word in. So I'm going to start with this shape. Now it looks like a letter. It also looks like a number. But in this case, it's neither a letter or a number. It is a shape. Do you know what it's called? I'm going to put a line for each of the letters in its name. It's called a circle. C-I-R-C-L-E. Now I'm going to add the letters so it'll be easy for us to reference it later when we need them. C. Now this is tricky because it sounded like Steeler C steals S's sound. C, I, R, C, L, E. And here it's stealing K's sound in the same word. And this is the of girl. Circle. And look at the end. Take a picture of that because there's an E in there and it's nosy. He has no job in there. He's just sitting in there because he wants to join the word. What do you notice about the circle? No angles, no sides, only a face. And the line has to connect. So it's curved all the way around. Let's try another shape. I'm going to make a shape that kind of looks like a letter until I add the last line. What letter does it look like? Starts like an A. So what's beautiful about this as a learner is once we start learning some information, we can move that information over into other areas. We have different things to learn. But we're not going to connect it in the middle. We're going to do it at the bottom. So this is, do you know what it is? Triangle. T-R-I-A-N-G-L-E. Whoa. You know why it's called a triangle? Look carefully. 1, 2, 3 angles or vertices. 3 sides. 1, 2, 3. And let's write the word. Try. T-R-I, which means 3. And angle. 3 angles. A-N-G-L. Now it sounds like we should be finished. Angle. But look, there's a nosy again. Doesn't have any job in the word except to just sit there and take up some space and make it harder for you to remember. Circle, triangle. Let's try another one. This shape has 2 sides that are short, and they're exactly the same, as close as I could draw them, and 2 sides that are long. They have to be exactly the same length. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices, 4 angles, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. This is called a rectangle. R-E-C-T-A-N-G-L-E. Whoa, that's a really long word. R-E-C-T, tangle, A-N-G-L. Oh, listen, rectangle. Seems like we should be finished, and look who's in this word again. E, nosy. No job in the word except to make it harder for you to spell it and harder to remember that it's there. Let's try another one. Now this one has 4 sides as well, but all of the sides are the same. 4 angles, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. It's a special rectangle. We call it a square. Square. S-Q-U-A-R-E. So I'm going to put an S, a Q, and U always follows U because Q is afraid to go without his friend. U says, it's okay, I'll stand right behind you. Q and U. U can be in a word alone, but Q will never be in a word without U. S-Q-U-A-R-E. Square. Let's try another one. This is similar to a circle, but it's a little bit different. It's the egg shape. We call that an oval. Look at my mouth. Oval. You actually make the name, and when you're saying the name, you make the shape. Oval. Like you're going to eat it. O-V-A-L. I think it's the easiest one to write. O says its name right there at the beginning. V-A-L. And there's no nosy in it. Now let's try the last one. The last one we're going to make is a hexagon. Now remember, hexagon had 6 sides, not 8. It doesn't look like a pentagon like a house, and it doesn't look like a stop sign. It only has 6 sides, so we're going to start with the flat side up at the top. I don't really want to make it yellow, but I think I might. Let's see, I think I'll make it blue as well. Maybe I will make it yellow. See if it shows up. Ooh, it's not going to show up. I better go over it with brown. How about black? One of my markers is missing. That makes it a little harder for me. So we'll go across. And then I want to make it symmetrical, so I'm going to do it like this. This is a hard one to do because you've got to be able to make your sides the same. So we slant out, and then we're going to slant in, and then we're going to come across. Oops, my easel fell. That made it a little harder to make it. And this is a hexagon. H-E-X-A-G-O-N. Whoa, that is a really long word. Hex. H-E-X. A hex-a-gon. A-G-O-N. Hexagon. Now I have a shape anchor chart. And I'm going to keep that for later when I need it. Let's see how many sides and vertices this one has, because this one only has a face. No sides, no corner, no angle. This one only has a face. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertices, 6 angles. And how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a tricky one, and it's very hard to draw. You should practice that a lot. All right, that's great. Now let's see how we can stretch out the learning just a little bit. So up here I have some shapes. I don't have all the shapes that you're going to have on the page or all that we made on our anchor chart, but I have some. And so a game that you could play, you could make different shapes out of like a cereal box, or that you all finished eating the cereal from, or out of paper, and you can color the paper and then cut them out, and you can lay them on top of each other when you cut, so they'll all be exactly the same shape and exactly the same size. Or you could make them different sizes and different colors, or you can make them all the same color. So one game you could play is a sorting game, to where you sort them all by shape. So if I were going to sort these, I would move these together, and these together, and these together. I'm putting triangles here. I'm putting circles here. I'm putting rectangles. Now remember, I could put the square with the rectangles, or I could put it in its own category of square. Move my triangles over here, move my circles down here. So either one is correct. Now, another way that I could sort these, since I made them different colors, is by color. So instead of sorting these by shape, I could also sort them by color. So all the green together, all the red together, all the blue together, all the black together. Another way I could sort them is by a third attribute that you can see here, is by size. So I could put all the small ones together, and I could put all the medium ones together, and I could put all the large ones together. And then I would say what my sorting rule is. These are all sorted by size. Maybe these are actually the large. So I could sort them by color, by shape, or by size. I could also jump over to another standard, and I could make shapes out of them. Make pictures out of them. So I could have a little house. I could make a little tree. I could maybe make this tree into a person. Give this as his body. There's his arms, his legs. So you could do different kind of activities to stretch the learning. And you can also try drawing them. Now, if somebody at your house makes shapes out of, say, a cereal box, the cardboard is a little bit stiff, so you could lay that down and trace around it, and then you could make different shapes on the back of a piece of paper that you'd already worked on, or off of a new paper. You could even take them outside and draw with chalk around them, and then try drawing them without any kind of stencil, which is what we would call that piece of cardboard in that shape. So there's lots of ways to extend this, to take your shapes even further. It was really awesome having this time with you. I look forward to sharing more information about shapes and math and letters on another video. But until we meet again, super teacher. Oh, let me give you some pride before I get out. Have some pride. You need some pride after this. And some love. I don't want you to miss the love. Put it in your heart. Save that for later. Okay? All right, now. Super teacher.